Hi everyone, I'd like to talk about social awkwardness. I've certainly had my fair share of social awkwardness throughout the years. If I think back to my school years, I started school at the age of 5 and I'd be physically attacked um, on more than one occasion. One occasion in particular, there was two of them. I remember seeing a sink, but I don't remember seeing anything else, so I can only conclude that I was probably unconscious during the attack. Also, there's been times when I felt anxious. My social skills weren't very good, and I'd make an extra effort, put myself out on the limb to be social. And by doing that, I'm sort of like leaving myself wide open. Um, Chances are people probably saw that as being false, and when you come across as false, people don't like that, and immature minds will stamp on that and make you feel awkward and worthless. And if you're feeling anxious and you're out there on a limb, any kind of negative response is going to be amplified. It certainly was for me. And all that negative responses, it has a negative impact on the way you look at yourself and your self-esteem. You start criticizing yourself, start blaming yourself, and the response to that is that you tend to build barriers, you tend to build walls, you only speak when you're spoken to, um, and thinking back, I didn't like people asking me personal questions, and I felt it intrusive, and I'd be very cautious about how I'd respond, especially after all the negative responses that I had before. And as such, I wouldn't ask people questions, and from not asking people questions, I wasn't building any kind of meaningful relationships. Um, and again, through all the negative responses, you're there criticizing yourself, you're blaming yourself, and that can be a downward spiral. And if it's not dealt with at the time, chances are it's going to have to be dealt with later in life. And the way to deal with it is by bringing all those insecurities, all those negative thoughts and beliefs that you hold of yourself, bring them out into the open, discuss them with someone who's mature, someone who's a listener, someone non-judgmental, someone who can put things into perspective. Obviously, somebody like a trained therapist or a trained therapist would be the way forward. And going back to school years, obviously people are immature throughout their school years, their younger years, and when people leave school, they're in the wide world, they're having to work alongside co-workers of numerous ages, and immaturity is not tolerated then, and it's dealt with, and people mature very quickly. But for those people who leave school unable to find work and isolated, they're trapped in those school years thinking that everyone of every age acts in the same manner, which is not the case. Because I say when people are out in the wide world having to work alongside co-workers of any age, that sort of behaviour is no longer tolerated. But for those people isolated, unable to find work, they're trapped in those years and they're not progressing in life, they're not developing, they're not flourishing and reaching their full potential. And then, let's say, all that negativity, building barriers, building walls, it all needs to be addressed later, having to rebuild self-esteem. And for me, what worked for rebuilding my self-esteem to a large extent was taking up martial arts in my early 20s. I did sport karate for a very short period of time, and I cannot emphasize the positive impact it had on my confidence and my self-esteem. And I highly recommend anybody to take up martial arts or something similar, because the benefits of it are enormous. I'd even say life-changing. And for me, it's always been a platform to work from, a platform of confidence. And if I think back to my earlier school years, dealing with those sort of confrontations, those situations, you would no longer have the fear element in those confrontations, and you would act and respond differently. So yeah, the benefits from taking up martial arts or something similar, I really cannot emphasize the benefits. Moving on to rebuilding social skills. What I found really beneficial is by joining online groups and reaching out to people of similar interests, similar values, and just responding to people's posts. That's all you got to do, just form connections. And you're there, you're sharing your opinions, you're sharing your thoughts, you're sharing your beliefs, speaking your mind, being true to yourself. Obviously, you're there trying to add value to people's lives, you're there trying to be a positive influence, you're not there trying to be negative, etc. And through through socially interacting, you learn what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. You learn a lot about yourself, and you rebuild your social confidence. Obviously, online, you can edit your posts, you can spend time thinking about what you're writing. There's no rush to hit that return button. So yeah, the benefits of it are really, really good. If we move forward to that and think about face-to-face conversations, obviously you don't have the luxury of being able to edit your posts. For me, having a strategy is probably a good idea. If you're initiating a conversation, what you're basically trying to do is to engage someone and stimulate a response. And if you're trying to add value to someone's day, then that will probably make things easier and make for a more beneficial conversation. Have an exit strategy, because sometimes conversations do become strained, they do become awkward. That could be as simple as just thanking someone for the chat, good to see you, or maybe you have to be somewhere so you need to go. And you can learn a lot about how someone is thinking about you, initial thoughts someone might have about you by watching their eye contact and facial expressions. And if someone's looking particularly cheerful or looking down, you could make conversation, but say it's nice to see someone cheerful, or you don't look particularly happy, or you look like you have something on your mind. Is everything okay? Just sort of take it a genuine interest, so genuine concern, because as I say, any kind of falseness will come across as such, and people don't like that. Or there could be something that stands out about someone. Could be that they're always smartly dressed, smartly turned out. Could be they got extra shiny shoes, tattoo, an expensive watch, the car they drive. Anything that could be a talking point and an icebreaker. And again, don't be afraid to ask questions, because you're not going to find out anything about someone unless you do ask questions, and you're not going to be able to form any kind of meaningful connection unless you sort of take an interest in, in them and possibly their family, etc. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. So hopefully this video has been of some value to you. If it has, please give it a like, please share it, and please subscribe. Thank you.